Thank you, Alex. Yeah, from my side, and before giving the floor to the basic content of this webinar, which are the projects, the project presentations, let me spend a few minutes to present you, to introduce you the basic highlights and the objectives and the directions of streams B5, C, and D that are relevant for our webinar today. Before that, I would like to start with the roadmap, as you can see in this current slide, which illustrates the phases of our SNS program. You can see that we are currently in phase 1. The first set of projects has just started, most of them 1st of January. And then we will continue. We're still in the first phase, but then we will continue with the next set of projects in SNS Phase 2, going towards a more detailed design and system optimization, leading to the target of having pre-commercial 6G systems, full 6G system by 2030, our main target, as mentioned in my introduction before. You will see in this timeline that we have also included let's say that the timeline for the 3GPP standardization. And this is also important to mention here, because the SNS program offers opportunity to European stakeholders, from industry, research, and academia, to have a leading position in the standardization process and have a leading position for Europe as well over the coming 8 to 10 years. And as you can see, there is a window of opportunity until 2025, when we have to decide on the technological choices, and then we enter into standardization mode with this initial 6G milestone. But of course, the 3GPP is not the only standardization organization, but the plan is still indicative of what we need to follow. So again, the main message is that we don't have much time to waste, and the projects, this first set of projects, can have a big impact on standardization activities. Next slide, please. Okay, here I would like to mention, let's say, to present you the first work program based on which the first call was implemented. So this first work program was structured around the drivers, the requirements, and the targets that Alex presented before in the relevant slide. So we can see, as mentioned already also by Alex, that this phase 1 was built upon the outcomes of the 5GPP projects, but also designed in a way to capitalize other results from other instruments, other initiatives, let's say, for example, initiatives undertaken in member states or elsewhere. And you can see there were two evolutionary and two revolutionary streams. So we had the stream A and stream D in the evolutionary path, and stream B and stream C in the revolutionary path. Here in this webinar, where you can see him there, let's see, framed in red color, we have the holistic system, the B5 stream, which is in fact the new flagship project in this first phase, which is supposed to follow up on HexaX activities. You can see that we also here we targeted stream C, experimental infrastructures, from the beginning of the program, to gradually build up an EU-wide testing capability. And also we targeted some large-scale SNS trials and pilots with verticals from the beginning of the program. And this is a big difference compared to 5GPP program, where these activities could be found later in the roadmap. As a result, you see that there were a total of 35 research and innovation projects with an EC funding of around 250 million euros. Were selected. These projects were selected after the evaluation, after the proposals were submitted for this first call. Just to mention also that the project portfolio includes the two CSA projects that are not visible here, but there are two CSA projects. One is focusing on internal operational aspects of the SNS, and the other is focusing on establishing dialogues with other EU initiatives or promote SNS results and achievements at a global level. So next slide, please. Yeah, So before I go to the highlights of the, the specific, let's say, streams, a few words on the results of the general results of this first call. These statistics here are based, of course, these pies are based on a portfolio and gap analysis that took place during last summer after consultation of selected projects and under the coordination of 6GIA office. You can see some interesting results here. For example, you can see that we have 288 unique beneficiaries, out of which 30% that are not 6GIA members, which shows the openness and the inclusiveness of our program. At the same time, it's interesting to see the percentage of participation of SMEs. So we have a very high participation of SMEs at a rate of 18%, very close to our target of 20%. But we, as you know, we in stream C and D, we have open calls, financial support to third parties, so we can certainly exceed the 20% if we take into account the participation of SMEs in these calls. In terms of key technological areas, you can see also the dominant, let's say, areas. For example, you can see that architectural topics appear to be of high interest. For example, there's a good coverage. But again, for the streams that are relevant to our webinar, you can see that the vertical and use cases, for example, you can see that we have a big focus on media, XR, gaming, or industrial IoT and PPDR. You can see some other areas that are a bit less covered, like automotive or health, agriculture, education. But in any case, just for your information, of course, the second call that is already open since mid of January, we took all the necessary measures to make sure that any of the gaps from the first phase is closed during the second call. Furthermore, I would like to say that the CSAs will perform a more detailed and accurate portfolio analysis in the coming period. So this is the first analysis, but a new, more accurate one will come in the coming, let's say, months. Next slide, please. Yeah, going into the details on the streams and the projects that we are going to listen later today. Stream B5 was about the 6G holistic system. So here we target complete system perspective, let's say, of future 6G platform from an architectural and functional perspective, from an end-to-end perspective, and so on and so forth. With the main objective to integrate the key results of other streams B as soon as they become available, of course. We speak here about consolidation of KPIs and KVIs, identification of 6G use case and the requirements, and how this can be supported by the 6G architectures and the technologies that we provided in the other streams. And as we speak about KVIs, key value indicators, we need to again to mention here that this new pillar project should equally investigate societal needs and technical needs, covering also sustainability aspects. As we say with this well-known duality, we say sustainable 6G and 6G for sustainability. So the overall goal of this project is also to provide value, to identify the technologies that will provide value to the society, and being at the same time environmentally and economically sustainable. One of the key objectives is also the coordination role in standardization work. So this is also important for this project. And as you can see in the below diagram, this project should provide well-defined means of communication with the 6GIA, but also with the CSA projects to ensure a common and consistent approach. Before I move to the next one, also to mention that this call was restricted to 6GIA members. And the reason behind that is that the flagship project represents the European vision of 6G. So it is a very strategic project, and it goes beyond clear R&D work. So that needs to be steered, accordingly, and to have a long-term commitment of the partners. And that's why this call was restricted to 6GIA members. Next slide, please. So next one is Stream C. As you can see here, the objectives of the Stream C were twofold. First, to develop EU-wide experimentation platforms that can incorporate 6G technologies, that can validate them, and to make such the platform capable of hosting advanced 6G use cases during the next subsequent SNS phase. There are some important key features that this platform needs to have, like reusability and evolvability, as we say, over the lifetime of the SNS program. We follow the spiral approach where, let's say, the developed platforms should be also available for use from future StreamD projects, as you can see in the below diagram as well. Accessibility and openness are also very important, and for this reason, the use of the platform requires, let's say, modular implementation methodology, potentially open source solutions with well-defined technological and business interfaces, clear documentation, and so on and so forth. Directionality and optimization of previous investments practically means that this early stage of StreamC projects may be supported by existing facilities, be it, 5GPP projects, platforms, or other projects, IoT large-scale pilots, or even investments by member states that can be also relevant. Again, the projects were restricted to 60IA members because again they need a long-term commitment of participating entities, but at the same time we ensure the opening at the 20% by providing financial support to third parties via open calls. So here again, let's say players outside the 60IA can participate in relevant activities. Next slide, please. About StreamD, okay, the main objective, of course, of the StreamD projects is to validate 5G advanced 6G technologies in a user context early in the process. And I say early because indeed the 5G experience showed that it takes several years to prepare for the adoption of 5G systems by key vertical players. So now we need to involve them early in the process to maximize take-up of relevant activities. Projects will also involve SMEs, scale-ups, and startups through open calls again, because this is again a restricted call, but we have a 40% let's say budget open to financial support to third parties, and this is where we expect that these players will enter in the project and will also contribute to innovation, let's say the European-led innovation, and stimulate investment across verticals. So it is important also that to also have in mind that SME scale-ups and startups can participate through open calls. Okay, leverage available experimental facility capabilities. Of course, this is the same spiral approach that we mentioned in the previous stream, in Stream C. So again, the projects here are expected to use technologies that are developed in, in phase 1 projects from Stream B, for example, but also provide new requirements in terms of KVIs and KPIs to others to Stream B projects in the past. So this is exactly when we speak about evolutionary approach. And the same features, reusability, evolvability, accessibility, openness, and so on, apply also for Stream D. Okay, before I give the floor to the projects, next slide, please. I would just like to mention a few words about our communication activities, because indeed project content is really instrumental to our SNS communication activities. And we have already set up, let's say, some good communication actions, and communication colleagues are really contributing a lot to these activities. And we can certainly support projects in promoting, their activities in this regard. So from our side, we have already issued a lot of press releases. You can see on the website, but we also launched our website recently in December, where you can find again a lot of news items. You can see the project portfolio, ways to participate in the next calls, but also events and so on and so forth. And last but not least, our social media channels, LinkedIn and Twitter, You're all welcome to follow us, and we will certainly promote your activities of all the projects, not only, of course, the ones today, but all SNS Phase 1 projects. So that's it from my side. Thank you for your attention, and then I will be happy to give the floor to Alex and the first project for presentation. Thank you very much.